everyone, and happy Monday. We are so excited you're here joining us for QuestionPro Office Hours. We're changing up the format a little bit because usually we are in Zoom, but now we wanted to make sure we were live across all of our platforms so that you could ask us any question in real time and get your answers right here. I am joined by Kartik Bhatt. Say hi, Kartik.
Hey guys.
And he is our director of sales and literally a QuestionPro genius, I would say. He probably won't defend that fact either.
It's the first time someone has called me a genius at anything, so I'll take it, I guess.
And I'm Crystal Leese. I'm the director of marketing here at QuestionPro, which is why I have to bring Kartik in, because he has been not working here forever, but knows the ins and outs of QuestionPro so much better than I do. And it would be a disservice if it was just me doing office hours. So we're so excited he's here. And let us know where you're from in the comments. So Technically, I'm from Kansas, but right now I live in Austin, Texas, and it is going to be a lovely 105 today. So I am kind of holed up in my house trying to keep my AC running. And Kartik, where are you at?
I'm in India, in a city called Nasik.
Okay, and how hot does it get there?
It gets typically about 40 degrees Celsius. So that is what, let's see, 40 degrees Celsius to Fahrenheit, because I can never do that conversion. About 104 is what we would call hot.
Okay, so you get about as hot as we do here in Texas. That is, last night we were hanging out at the pool, and I was like, this is where I'm gonna have to live this week because it's gonna be so hot. So let us know where you're from in the comments section, and then start just dropping those questions in there. It can be anything from how to change your brand logo in a QuestionPro survey to something even more complicated like a Max Diff question best practices. I know we've definitely answered that before. And so it can be really simple to really complicated. We're just here to help you guys get the best out of your QuestionPro experience, the best out of your survey experience. And so, let us know what you need help with. But I also want to make sure that we're plugging our other shows. So every Friday, you can find us on these same channels with Live with Dan Fleetwood, our head of Insights and Research, runs a live show every week where he brings in guests from the industry or just does best practices. Sometimes he has these really funny data points, and not sometimes, always. I don't know, Kartik, did you see this great data point we pushed out the other day?
No, I think I missed it, actually.
We ran an instant poll and found out that 79% of Americans believe that there are UFOs out in the beyond.
Wow. Wow.
It was very high. And so, you can always depend on us for fun, real facts from Americans. Like, we have a 95% guarantee rate on our audience, and Tim Cornelius, our head of audience, will always talk to you about that. And so that's on Fridays. Make sure you stop in for that. And then now every Tuesday we have a podcast for our Work It Live podcast. They just dropped their last episode of the season talking about your inner critic. And I'm going to put a link to that podcast in the comments section because it was just so good. If you're commuting to the office again, make sure you give it a listen, or if you're just doing some chores. On Wednesdays, we have CX Forums with Mark Michelson and Ken Peterson. And of course, every last Monday of the month, we have office hours. So make sure you're joining us for these live events every week. We really want to create that authentic experience where you can learn about research, learn about QuestionPro, and have a little fun in the process. And I think that's all we got to cover today. Obviously, there's the QuestionPro platform. The slide always pops up at the end, and I forget about it. We have surveys, community, workforce, service, and partnerships. There's also CX that just somehow got left off of here. Poor Ken. And today we're going to be focusing on surveys and doing a little communities Q&A too. So get your questions ready because we're going to be starting to ask them. Okay, Kartik, I got your first question. Are you ready?
Yep.
Okay.
I'm still waiting to be stumped, but yeah.
I'll have to, maybe we'll have to get one of our customer success managers to come in here and stump you. Okay, so this one's super easy. At least I think it's super easy. Maybe not. Brought in by Matumlo Tao, saying how to convert Word questionnaires into an online questionnaire using QuestionPro.
Yep, that's super easy actually.
Oh, let me
So
add
this
your
is
screen. Hold on. I got to add you to
yeah,
this. Add your, there we go. Oh, there we go. Perfect.
awesome. Perfect. So once you're into the application, when you go to create a new survey, you have a few options. You could create from scratch, obviously, by just adding any questions from a question builder. You could choose from like over 80, 90 templates that we have, or you can import from Word, right? So if I just do Word import, so once you create the survey, you're brought to the workspace, and here you'll actually see the option which says add questions from Word, right? So you just click on that,
Oh,
and you can just
it's
download
literally
this
right
sample.
there.
Yep. Yep. So just get this sample. It will have like a sample for each and every question type and how to add it, and that's about it. Follow the steps, and you're good to go.
I love that. That was 10 times easier than I even thought it would be. Don't you love it when there's a button right there just to answer your question? Uh, okay, so on to the next. How are you? Oh, this is, I don't know this one. How do you report qualitative data using QuestionPro?
So for qualitative, actually, more than surveys, we do have a dedicated tool for this, which we obviously call communities that we'll be talking about as well.
Ooh, look at that perfect lead in.
So I'll actually show you a few options. So obviously on the survey side, it's not designed that much for qualitative, but if you go
Okay.
into analytics, you'll really see word clouds that you can do. So based on any of your open-ended text, you can create your word clouds and filter them by segments and all of that. You got sentiment analysis. So this is basically AI powered or machine learning powered analysis of all your text data into positive, neutral, negative, that kind of themes, right? So there is some stuff that we have on just the survey side, and then on the community side, if you go into communities, obviously if you have a communities license, so just go into the community, and if you go into modules, which is right here,
Right.
you'll see kind of all the modules, and these are typically all qualitative modules, right? So you got your idea board or idea input.
Oh,
So, as a company, you want to empower your customers to really, give you more ideas or discuss ideas with each other, comment on or upvote or socially share some ideas. So you can use the idea board. You could do like focus groups or, live discussions, Zoom discussions, topics. So these are some things that, you can use to obviously run some qualitative research. And obviously, then we have the tools to analyze this. So if you're doing a Zoom call, then obviously we'll process whatever is spoken and analyze it and stuff like that.
now if you were going to only be able to do one version of research for the rest of your life, would you pick qualitative or quantitative?
Any day quantitative, I think, just because I feel the it's much more reliable. Obviously, qualitative, I think, is just a mechanism to then do a quantitative. So, as an example, if I wanted to understand what is the preference of soft drink consumers in California, right?
Yeah.
So obviously, I can't do qualitative and make business decisions with that, but I cannot even start directly with quantitative, right? I cannot go survey 15,000 people without doing qualitative. So first, I do need to do some qualitative to just see what are some ideas and themes and nuggets that come out from that qualitative, and then you would do a quantitative on that, right? So obviously, it's hand in hand. You cannot do one without the other. But I personally love quantitative just because it's much more difficult. The analysis are more challenging. You can run analytics at 95%, 90%. So all those things really excite me. In qualitative, it's really more about, just I guess your personality and stuff like that. Just guess that initial push that you need.
Yeah, for sure. And that's why we make such a great team because I'm all about the qualitative feelings.
Yep.
I'm like, ooh, this is great. But
Yeah,
that's
if I do qualitative, the people will think like it's some artificial intelligence that's doing it. They'll not even believe it's a human.
I love that. Well, now that we're in, I mean, I didn't even mean for that question to tee us up, but it totally did. Um, now that we're in communities, one of our very robust platforms, let's get started. Can you just tell us a little bit about communities and why it's valuable?
Mhm.
And then we'll get into kind of like the video discussions and focus groups.
Absolutely, absolutely. So anyone who's doing research, right? There are really two ways of doing quantitative or even qualitative research. One is you just do ad hoc surveys, like okay, you have a new topic, you want to understand what Americans say about it, or if it's global, then different regions what they say about it. So those are really ad hoc projects, and that's what our kind of service product is designed for.
Right.
But communities is more like, let's say you're a gaming company, right? Let's just say Riot Games or Epic Games, any of these guys. So you typically do want to create a community or a pool of people that you can tap into for feedback, right? So what I mean by that is obviously not everyone is going to be valid. So if you're a gaming company, maybe you need people who game at least once a week on, let's say, a console or on a desktop, right? They are
Right.
a valid kind of person for you. So you want to create that pool of people that's very, very valuable. So when you have like new ideas or new games or new images or new stuff that you're working on, you can really kind of tap into that pool that you've created to get some quick ideas, either through your discussions or even through simple surveys, rather than targeting someone new, which will not give you the right data, right?
Right.
So community really helps you do longitudinal stuff, and firstly kind of profile everybody in. So you have gamers. Sometimes you want responses from gamers. Sometimes you only want to target people who don't game that often, right? So you can call them recreational gamers, because for something that you're designing is really designed for them. So you can kind of profile out and target based on whom you want to hear from, whom you want data from. So communities kind of makes that entire process super easy to really conduct.
I love that. So I'm a recreational gamer, and I have to do that by I have to do it by because like if I start a new like campaign or something, then I like get sucked in and lose my whole weekend. So I have to be very diligent about it. But if you were saying you had people who played one particular game, like let's say with their guild or whatever over and over again, and they had lots of opinions on that game, or let's say even if they were on any environment that they're in. I mean, you could have like another example would be like day traders if you had a trading
Right.
platform or I know you play poker, so I'm sure that you have some like opinions on the UX of poker experiences
I,
online.
I, I actually have a community for my poker, right? So I got about 200, 300 poker players, and every time like there's some new strategy that comes out, I'll actually run it by them, try to get their thoughts, and try to analyze it that way. So I actually do have a small poker community.
Oh my gosh, you're just question pro through and through, Kartik, and I love it.
Yeah, and I like to believe I'm doing it for branding, but truly I'm doing it just because I love to do
For strategy. You're like, oh, I just love it. And that's awesome. So we have a couple of questions. The reason we're really focusing on communities this time was because we did have some questions submitted about communities. And so I'm going to run through our best practices ones first for everybody in the audience, and then we'll get into the how to. So, one of the questions that was submitted was, how can I improve the engagement amongst my community members? So let's say you've already got them in your community. How do you engage
it.
with them?
Right. So this is, I think, the biggest challenge to run any successful community is the engagement, right? And generally, like a healthy consumer panel should have at least about north of 25% engagement. Anything less than that, probably you can do better at engagement. right? And obviously, the simple answer is, the more surveys you're able to launch, or the more activities you're able to launch, and the more incentives your members can earn, the more
Right.
engaged they're going to be. I mean, that's a no-brainer. Like, obviously, if you have discussions, you earn points for it, you get incentives, or you answer surveys, you get incentives. So obviously, that's the simplest way. The more you have of that, the more engaged your community will be. But obviously, that's not always very practical. Sometimes you just have maybe one survey per month, and maybe just one activity or one ideation or one discussion per month, right? So you don't have that much activity. So obviously, in such cases, you should incentivize a bit higher than market. I would say that's number one,
Oh,
to kind of keep them more. Obviously, the more volume you have, the lesser you can incentivize, and the lesser volume you have, probably you should incentivize a bit more.
right.
That's, I would say, the first thing. The second would be, like, typically don't keep your community, don't let it lose out. So many times, if there's just, a new hot, current affair topic or something like that, so you can just send a broadcast that, hey, you know what, this is new, this is what we feel, this is what the market says, or whatever, right? Just put in, a short email with interesting material out there, or broadcast some interesting material that will also kind of keep you in the radar with them. And also, something that's very useful for engagement is polls. So many times, you might not have a survey, but you can do like quick interesting poll, right? Like
I
Christian
love a
said,
good
like,
poll.
do you believe that, the UFOs, right? It's although it has nothing to do with your subject per se, but it's really fun, to do that, publish the results and stuff like that, right? So polls again is also a great mechanism for really keeping that engagement high.
I love that. So good incentives is what I'm hearing, and like fun, more fun engagement sometimes that may not, that's like short and not super long, or not even necessarily about the topic.
Exactly. Yep. It should be more fun. It really has to be fun, right? Or sometimes it can be competitive. Like, who do you think is the best tennis player, right? And put the three names out there that everyone's going to fight over, right? And that
Right.
will just automatically create its own buzz. So things like that are very, very helpful. And obviously, you can do the standard gamification, like badges, reward badges. If you earned, 1,000 points, if you answered X amount of surveys, give them some kind of recognition, give them a badge to kind of show off in the community. So
Yeah.
things like that will also improve it over time.
Can you show us those kind of engagements here?
Yep.
Badges.
Yeah. So we
Sorry.
just come into incentives and badges. You kind of see the badges here, and we're actually adding a lot more as well. I think in the next month or so, we'll also have custom
Nice.
badges. So right now we just have, number of points earned, or how many days you've been with them, or participate in X number of surveys. But we are also kind of doing custom badges where you can kind of create your own badges and create more badges with custom rules and all of that stuff. So we'll be doing this even more in the near future. But even now, like, this is also a great mechanism to keep the engagement higher.
That's great. And so if you were thinking about starting a community,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to like recap kind of what we've been talking about. If you want to start a community, fine. You want to target, I'm assuming you have to outline your criteria of people before you start inviting them out of your database. And then once you get them into your community, creating incentives, gamification, or just like fun, authentic experiences to keep them engaged.
Yep,
Great.
that's an amazing summary.
I feel like I could run a community now. So, can you kind of show us how to kind of start your community and where you would get people to join, and how you can, make sure that they're authentic people, right? Because you don't want people coming in just to
Mm-hmm.
get gift cards and spam the accounts and stuff like that.
Yep. So I think the simplest thing to do is, typically there are a few ways you can do recruitment. One is obviously through, like, external vendors, like maybe Saint or even QuestionPro. We have our own panel, so you can actually reach out to panel providers to kind of help you with recruitment. So I think
Right.
that's the easiest way to really recruit. Many times you have your own pool, so maybe you already have like 100,000 emails, and you just want to get them into the community. but you still want to verify that they're in the US and they're not a bot and things like that, and you want to get some profiling information like age, genders, things like that.
Yep.
So the simple way to do that is just go into surveys and just create, let's say, a recruitment survey, and you can just add all the questions that you want to know about them right before they even come into your panel, because all this will then be used as profiling information, right? So you can then profile on that, target on that, run an analysis on the stuff. So typically you might have, let's say, gender. So let's do gender. You might have age, so I'm going to do a drop down for age.
You literally make surveys so fast. I'm so jealous.
So
uh,
let's do age. This is my age, and again you can have as many as you want. And then the one thing that's important to do is before you go into kind of signing up, just add a CAPTCHA.
yep.
So this is a great way of knowing, obviously, that it's not a bot or something like that. Because many times, if a community is incentivizing well and there's some good rewards to be earned, you'll always have scammers trying to come in. So
Right.
always do have this CAPTCHA to just verify. And then finally, once they've gone through that, all you'll do is come into advanced and just add the community recruitment question.
What?
And here you'll just say, okay, you'll put in a message about what the community is, how often you get surveys, how much you could earn, and just things like that to keep them interested or get them excited to kind of join. And then just
Right.
go into settings and you can, ask for phone. So what this will do is really ask them to enter their phone number, and once they've entered the phone number, a kind of a SMS with a unique code will be sent to them, right? And then they need to enter that code to be able to sign up. And the reason to do this is like, again, if your community is very active and you can earn good incentives, then I could potentially create 30 different email addresses, in 5 minutes and just sign up to
Oh my
earn
gosh,
much
that
more
sounds like
points.
so much work.
So it's good to kind of authenticate a phone number, because one unique phone number can be used only once. So
Yeah.
you're ensuring a unique population and reducing duplicates as much as possible. Obviously, we do have IPs and all of that for
Yeah.
duplication as well, but phone is, like, I would say, the strongest way to do that.
Awesome. And so all of this is inside our surveys platform. So it really can kind of showcases like how surveys and communities work together, because I'm gonna say this and I think it's right. Not all of our communities competitors have survey platforms built in. You still sometimes have to use a secondary survey system to send your survey.
That's right. It's actually none, I believe. Like, none of our main competitors actually have both, right? They are well integrated. I would say, like, I'm not going to take names, but I know obviously a few of our competitors are super well integrated to other panel providers, right? Sorry, other community providers. But completely in-house, a complete community management and survey tool by one vendor. I think we are the only one.
It was just so easy to see that literally an option in the question types to say, oh, now we're going to start funneling them into our community. That just seems like a one-click solution. No matter what kind of integration you have, I would say that's 10 times easier. But that's just me. We're a QuestionPro loyalist here, even though we try to play well with others. So this is how you kind of get people, and then you distribute this whether to a panel you've
Yep,
purchased or acquired, or to your own users.
correct. So you can just give it a name. So let's say recruitment community. So I can just kind of create this URL, and I can just send this URL by email to n number of people. Or if I'm using a panel provider or a partner, I can just send him and he can then just start recruiting. You can also add things like source. So if you're using two or three partners, so you can add the source as well. So you know how many members have come from where. So all that kind of stuff is well integrated.
I love that. So super easy to use, not super easy, useful to use surveys to send, out to your panelists, and then they fill out the survey. They get their code via an SMS, and then they join the community.
Yep, that's about right. Yeah, and then also if you to verify the email, we automatically send them a verification URL. Their phone number, like I said, is verified through SMS. So all of those things are integrated as well. So what the welcome email that they'll get, what content goes in that email, all of that stuff.
That's awesome. So then on the admin side, as a community manager, how do you
Mhm.
kind of see that roster?
Yep. So if you go into your community, so I think before even going into the roster, the first thing you want to do is like create your workflow. So if you're going to send, here you'll go into templates and notifications, right? So you can set up firstly all your notifications. So when anytime a new member signs up, what is the email that should go, what are the links that they should be aware of, what are the maybe some terms that you want in that email, then a refer a friend email, birthday wish or password reset, and all these kind of templates you can automate to be sent on different actions, right? And right here, if I go into community and just go into members, so here I have my complete roster. I can look by email or first name, last name. I can filter. I can see by status, unsubscribe, filtered, blocked, and all of these things.
Wow, that's awesome. Now I'm assuming some people we probably, 15 members is a lot, but when you get up into the thousands, being able
Mm-hmm.
to do all that sorting, I'm sure comes in very handy.
Yep, absolutely. So an average consumer panel is going to have north of 3,000 members essentially. So clearly, you do need the sorting. You should be able to kind of update statuses in bulk, manage your unsubscribe. So all of that is right here under member management.
That's awesome. Now, this was not a question that got submitted, but I have a question. Is there a way to also, kind of following back up on our engagement question? Uh,
Mhm.
is there a way to see which members are more engaged than others?
Yes. So if you come into analytics,
Mm-hmm.
you'll firstly get a leaderboard here. So the leaderboard firstly tells you like in the past week, or you can set that threshold. So week over week or month over month, which member has earned how many points. And points is typically the best indication of activity, right? And
Yeah.
then overall, you'll get your kind of sign-ups, month over month. Is there been a decrease or increase? Verified members month over month, sessions month over month. So all these are like high level, and then I could like obviously filter this by different sets if I wanted to. But this leaderboard typically will give you, who's your most active kind of members.
Cool. Wow. I feel like there's like literally so much you can do. um, can you tell us, so as we kind of got through the basics, but to kind of lighten it up a hot second, is there something really unexpected that you've seen done with communities that you never would have thought of that you could give us an example of?
Yep. I think when I was working in the European market, something super interesting was, I think it was Spanish police or one of the countries like local police actually used our community uh, to enable kind of the citizens in that locality. So they were able to kind of raise complaints on it. They were able to like submit feedback. Any new norm that was coming, they would send it for polls. So they were the research team was not even a research team; it was one person actually doing it. He was able to really empower them and get a lot of insights from this, and that was actually published annually in their obviously their press release and all of that as well. So they actually took it to the next level in terms of empowering the locals or the people,
Mm-hmm.
and that really obviously they were able to see the trend in general of the happiness meter just keep gradually increasing. They've been doing it with us for the past 4 years now,
Wow.
and it has been gradually kind of it's becoming more and more useful as more and more people are coming in, and obviously the action is being taken on that. The data from that is used to kind of sometimes maybe even tweak some new laws or something like that. So I think that's been a very very unique experience. Very very kind of it was when we started it. It was something I've never done before. My forte or my experience is really in consumer research or even
Right.
B2B. I've done some projects, but that was for something completely unique, some different, and I learned a lot from that project.
That's so cool because then it takes right, the community that makes the consumer feel empowered, but then when you kind of like pivot it to the, I don't know, the general pop for just like like not endearing, but like, making them feel like they have a voice, I think is really just the ethos of what a community is. And they took it out of that kind of consumer world and put it in kind of the public sector, which I just think is so cool. That's a great
Yeah,
story. Thanks for sharing,
absolutely.
Kartik. I will say, people watching us right now, none of these questions are the only ones that are pre-made are the ones that are submitted to us. Anything we come up on the fly is just like, just Kartik and I chatting. So kudos to Kartik for always having an answer because I never warn him about what I'm going to ask. So,
See, I've been here. I've been here since like 2011, right? So I've been here for 11 years, and I do at least 30 calls, 40 calls per month. So that's a lot of calls I've done. So I'm typically prepared for almost anything.
I love that. Maybe I'll try and get a life question to stump you with. We did have a big debate on family vacation about a zip up hoodie versus a pullover hoodie and what is a true hoodie. But that's like, we should do a poll about it. But okay, so where are we going from here? We've talked about how to get your community started, how to incentivize people, how to check on their usage and making sure they're engaged. So let's talk about maybe focus groups and the different activities you can do with your community.
So let's go into focus groups.
I'm only saying focus groups because it's like the only one I know. So if there's something else.
Awesome. So if you come into modules, right? So the first thing is idea boards, right? So idea boards are things like let's say we work a lot with Energizer, right? So they're running an idea board for like what is it that you would like to really see in kind of household batteries, right? Your AA batteries and AAA batteries, and just running kind of idea boards on that. So things like more life, or maybe lithium ion powered, or the rechargeable should just you should be able to recharge with USB-C or Type C or such things like that. So a lot of unique things have kind of come out from that. So kind of idea board has been super useful for companies to kind of just empower their consumers to post ideas and kind of upvote on different ideas, and then obviously you just pick like the top 5 ideas of the month and try to kind of take action on that, right? So that's your idea board. Discussions is like you could do this one on one or one to many. So you could do like maybe a focus group with 10, 15 people, or just one to one and things like that. And it's fairly easy to do. So if you just go into new discussion, I'm just going to give it a name. What is this? What's the topic of this, and what are we going to be discussing? What type of discussion is it going to be? Is it going to be chat, or is it? And this is all live. It's going to be either live chat or a live video meeting. So you could do either.
Okay.
And for now, I'll do chat. Uh, when do you want to do it? Obviously, so with this group of people, put in the start date, end date, or the start time and end time, and then who is it that you really want to target out, right? And then you can create it. So this then enables you to kind of talk real time with a subset of your community for different ideas, right? So let's say we are working with, let's say, Wilton, who kind of create maybe or produce kind of cupcake mixes and stuff like that. So maybe
Right.
I want people who bake at least twice a week. I just want to kind of brainstorm with them on some of my packaging or some things like that, flavors or something like that, right? So I could use discussions in those manners. And then you have topics. So topics is typically you'll just publish it to your community that what do you feel about the Wimbledon 2021 having full capacity or whatever, right? So you could just have any kind of topic and have start having people kind of post their views on it, and just kind of collect data from that, right? So that's what kind of topic enables you to do, is where it's not real time communication, but you just post a topic and just kind of get the essence or ethos of the people on that.
I gotcha. So there's kind of some passive engagement options, and then there's like kind of time bound live options.
Right. Yep.
Okay, and can you set different point models based on how they engage? If they're, only like 1 point for a topic discussion and then, but like 5 points if they join a live discussion?
Absolutely, absolutely. So you can give them points not only for joining an activity and completing an activity, but you can also really, let's say you're doing an idea board, right?
Okay.
So you could say that for every new idea that gets more than, 10 upvotes, you'll get 50 points. Or for every comment that you post, you'll get 1 point. And obviously there's a limit. You could post only 5 comments, let's say in a day or something like that. So you can actually incentivize them for each and every high level activity as well as these granular activities like posting a comment or upvoting an idea or something like that.
Cool. I love that. That's great. And then when we get into kind of the live focus groups or the live chats, what
Mm-hmm.
are some of the analytics or the supporting kind of behind the scenes features for admins or community managers?
Right. So typically, since the focus group is not meant for like, hundreds of people to be there at the same time, focus group is like
Right.
5, 10 people. So if it's obviously a video discussion, so we give you the entire transcript. We automatically recognize the names of the people who are there and give you the transcript by those names, and then we could do some sentiment analysis and stuff like that on it. But typically, these things are like you pretty much just go through the transcript to try and get some themes of data, right? And the same goes for chat as well, where we could process it, but because the data is so small, generally like reporting or AI powered reporting or machine learning reporting will really be effective when you have 10,000 plus responses or 5,000 plus responses.
Woo!
But these are typically very very small, so you almost have to do it manually. Although we give you all the data in a decent format, you can filter it and stuff like that. But after that, you have to kind of read through it and kind of chalk up your report on it.
That's awesome. Well, it's that qualitative data, man. Just gotta. So you can really engage with your members or your users using communities, and can you walk us through just like your high level best practices and just show us kind of just like a couple different ins and outs, maybe the best kept secret of communities?
So I don't think we've kept any kind of secret, but I think there are a few kind of a few underrated kind of functions that people have not used that much. So I think one is polls. Although we've spoken about this a lot, but
Yeah.
very few people actually actively keep polls as something they have to do. It's something that when you remember it, you're going to do it. But actually doing consistent polls, weekly or bi-weekly, is really really valuable. The clients who are doing it, I've seen like the engagement just be much better than people are not doing it. But
Interesting.
it's generally never a part of your process, right? Your part of your process is obviously doing projects that you need data for the company for. Polls
Yeah.
is always something obviously that's extra, but it should, I believe, be a part of the process, right? The second thing I would say is kind of the gamification or the engagement meter. So this kind of shows you, how much kind of people or what percentage of population from other regions are on the community at the same time, and just does a bit more of gamification. Again, this is something that's typically not done that actively. So again, I feel that this can really be used much better. And one more thing that I think that's super useful is in profiles. We have kind of, obviously you can create all the profiles that you're going to use, and you can obviously group them into different kind of sets. So some are public profiles, like gender and stuff like that is something that everyone can see or the member can see. And then you can actually also have hidden profiles where over a period of time, you'll have hundreds and hundreds of data points that you want to capture, but obviously you don't want to really show it, or it should not be changeable or stuff like that. So you can really
Right.
create n number of data points and really keep it hidden, right? I've just seen typically just 10 demographic questions, 12 demographic questions, and then that's it. But you can actually, just keep increasing that. So targeting and your analysis, gets deeper and deeper, as in how you're doing this over time.
So, but it also sounds like community managers have to be just as engaged in their community as their members are. Because the examples you're using are of people who have really put the work in to manage a community well and see the value and kind of like respect towards their members. Is that kind of what I'm hearing?
Yep, yep. So yeah, the community manager, it's like a full-time job, I would say. Like managing even a 4K member panel community, right? 4K to
Right.
20K, I would say, is really a full-time job for one person. And then if it really goes above that, we have a couple of communities with like 200K or 300K members.
Woo!
Then I would say it's a team job, right? You need at least three researchers to really be able to utilize it to its potential, keep the engagement level there, and just use it to its potential to get the true insights.
Wow. I was like, oh my gosh, that's so many people. um, there's definitely been, I've got a couple invitations now that I've worked at QuestionPro, and you're like, you're a target demographic for X, Y, and Z. And I'm always like, I never join because I know I don't have the community member time. Like, I don't want to give them bad data. But no, I really think that, talking about polls again, I know we talk about that a lot, but I think it's because we just like love fun data. So not fun data. Yeah, fun data so much. It's almost like keeping them warmed up, like keeping your community warmed up so that when you do want to ask those really significant questions, they already like have that warm kind of fuzzy feeling. It's like, oh, they send us these fun polls. I want to answer questions for them because it is kind of a give and take situation.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely. It's just being relevant with your pool, right?
Yep.
The minute kind of you stop being relevant, your response rates and engagement rates will start kind of declining.
That's so good to know. Well, Kartik, thank you so much for your time. If there was one final community nugget you could give us, what would it be?
I can't think of anything right now, but the one thing that I've seen a very common mistake, not just with our customers, but in general, right? Many times, we are migrating customers from different communities as well. The one thing that I've noticed is people create different communities for different markets, right? So, for example, if you're doing US, Canada, and Germany, right? So you really have
Right.
three communities, and that's actually the wrong way of doing it, because that's three times the work to manage your three portals, manage the members and everything. So I strongly recommend kind of multilingual portals or multilingual communities. And we truly have a multilingual platform, right? Right from,
Oh man, I was like, where are
by
you
default
going?
they'll see all the content in the right language to even the incentives, right? Obviously Canada will have Canadian dollars, US will have the incentives in US dollars, and Germany would have it in euros. So even the incentives, so we can set it up that someone from Germany will only see German incentives, someone from US will see only those applicable in US. So it's a truly kind of multilingual community where all the settings are also can be kind of designed by the country they're from. I mean, I've got a lot of people to go from three, four communities to one master community, but I
That's
still kind of
awesome.
see that mistake being made quite a bit.
Well, and that's just like so good to know. I never would have even known that, like you
Yeah.
definitely stay in your own purview sometimes. But if you are one community manager at a company, having them in kind of a master or like a primary community would be ideal. And then you can just like lean on the platform like QuestionPro to
Absolutely.
incentivize and distribute in your community members' languages. That's awesome, Kartik. I feel like that was like buried the lead. Um, we really thank you for your time, Kartik. And I'm going to let everyone know who's watching us that if you do have a question that comes up, oh no, Kartik Inception. Let me remove that. If you do have a question that comes up while we aren't on office hours, you can jump on our questionpro.com/chat, and our support team will be there to help you. Probably not Kartik, but somebody else. Unless Kartik's like, not like, is like, oh, I need to get in there for a day. Um, but our chat team is always there to help you. You can get them on chat, or email us at support@questionpro.com, and we will be there to help because we want to make sure all of our users get the best out of their QuestionPro experience. So thank you so much, Kartik.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for setting this up. I always kind of look forward to these meetings.
He's like, I'm just, you just want to lean on me to get your like inspiration for the day. No, I'm kidding. Okay, I'll chat with you guys later. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.